Welcome, Lisa. Who else do we have here? Welcome, everyone. Everyone's so good at knowing their Zoom etiquette. Everyone's going right into mute. Welcome, welcome. Hey, Greg, when everybody's in, just give me a cue and I'll get started. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Welcome. Thanks for coming in and just waiting for a few more people and then we'll get started. Great. Greg's still letting some folks in and he says thumbs up, so we're ready to go. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful fall-like day in Vermont. I'm Heather Duhamel, and I'll just do a quick introduction from Vermont PBS, and I will help co-present today, and I get to sort of get us started by just making sure that everybody is on mute. Everyone has their Zoom etiquette. We're so good at this now. And I want to also make sure you know that as we move through the presentation today, which will last about an hour, that if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. And we will have time for questions at the end. We will also open things up to questions throughout, but you can use your raise your hand feature here in Teams. It's just like in Zoom, right? Same. I think that is everything. Emily, did I forget anything? Emily, wanna introduce yourself? And then we should introduce Kyle too, because they're gonna get to know Kyle the next webinar. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm Emily Loita. I'm the English Language Arts Specialist at the Vermont Agency of Education. I don't know if folks can see me or not, but I can't see any of you. I can only see my presentation, so I feel like I'm just talking to a computer screen. But I have taught ELA. I taught high school for 13 years before moving on to my new role, and I'm really excited to share some of this wonderful PBS AOE collaborative work with everyone. Do we want, Kyle, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and maybe give a little teaser about your presentation for next week?
Yeah, hi. Sorry, I'm getting a bunch of emails right now, so I apologize for the buzzes. Good timing for the introduction. I'm Kyle. I'm the arts specialist at the AOE, and next week I'll be doing a webinar on how we can integrate PBS programming and the supplemental resources into interdisciplinary learning using themes. So we'll go through where to find different thematic resources and considerations for integrating those resources into our curricula.
Thank you, Kyle. So I have the task of going through the agenda, and I also remember to make sure to say that we are being recorded right now, so that this session will be recorded, so that if there's something you feel like you missed or you want to remember, you can go back through and rewatch. We will also post this link for if you have a colleague who's curious and you want to make sure they catch it. It will be posted on the distance learning page, which will show you again. Maybe some of you were in our last webinar last week. That recording is also there if you want to sort of catch up. And we will also record Kyle's webinar next week if you can't make it in person. So today, we are going to go through a few resources for families. If you're a teacher or a librarian, these will be helpful to know about in order to share with families. it's a whole series of resources. We're talking articles and printables and online. Most things through PBS are free. PBS is built for this. So at the beginning of this pandemic, when schools started closing, PBS stepped up and said, hey, we can make something with all the resources we have that can be accessible to schools and to families. And now as we're moving into the new school year, they have really reorganized things through themes, through bundles. So we're going to explore some of those collections and the way to sort of navigate those by age and content. That was something we heard from you. That seemed very important as a way of navigating. You want to find things that already fit with what you're planning to do to send home. And you want that to be easy for the family to navigate, because for teachers and librarians and community members who are attending today, then not only do you have to find that resource, but it has to be translated to the family. So we've heard you loud and clear, and so has PBS, which is what makes these supplemental resources so great. So we will go through and explore the collections. We will explore the parent resources, and then we will have time for questions. So hopefully that helps you know what to expect. Are you ready, Emily?
I'm ready. So participants and viewers, well, these are our desired outcomes for the webinar today. We plan to help you understand how the Vermont PBS distance learning site and PBS Kids for Parents are organized. So just a reminder that Vermont PBS distance learning is the new name to reflect the new content and navigation of the webpage, and Heather will talk a little bit more about that. Previously at home learning. You should also be able to navigate the PBS programming and supplemental resources that are attached to it from PBS Learning Media, as well as provided by the AOE. And you'll be able to search by content, age, activity type, or program or episode. And you'll also learn more about milestones and be able to find articles to share with families. If you did not attend our last webinar, this is just a quick recap of what we did. We showed participants how to access PBS programming and supplemental resources, and there were multiple ways to do that. There's the PBS page on the Vermont AOE website. We walked through that, and it's also linked to the slideshow. So this slideshow will be shared with you after the presentation if you registered. So you'll be able to click into that. We also walked folks through the Vermont PBS distance learning site and showed mostly the teacher side of that. We'll be looking at the family side today. And we also looked at PBS Learning Media. Last time we showed folks how to navigate the programming and supplemental resources and search by theme, content, or program and episode. And we also showed how to sign up for a free PBS Learning Media account. So we walked through how to create educator accounts as well as how to create student accounts. And then with that, teachers can create classes, they can share resources or assignments using links, using codes, using the classes that they created or through Google Classroom. There's some good Google Classroom integration. So if you already use Google Classroom, it's really helpful for that. And then there's a lesson builder that folks can use to develop lessons. And I think that's the majority of what I wanted to say about that. So now we're going to start with the new content, and Heather is going to talk to you about the Vermont PBS distance learning site while I click around where she's talking.
We're such a good team, Emily. So yes, so here's where we're headed. So Vermont PBS distance learning is essentially the new name for what we were calling at-home learning in the spring. We shifted a little because our approach has shifted a little based on your feedback. We did a survey, we've done focus groups, we've heard from many teachers and folks in the community saying, I like it, but I really need this. So that was important, and we heard you. And so we're calling it distance learning, and we're sort of leading, instead by a TV broadcast grid, we're really focusing on things that you can stream on demand. We're hearing you say, I want some of this, not all of this.
We have to.
Oops. I'm just gonna remind folks,
and we are growing our digital presence. We have to have a strategy as we promote the fire collection specifically I received.
Excuse me, we need to make sure everyone's muted who are here on our webinar. Are we good now? Yeah, I think so. Good. So I'll keep going. So as you scroll down, Emily, I will show our different options. So we have the educators page, which we went through the last time. And today we're going to look at the home study side of our project instead. And we're calling it home study because this is going to meet the needs of many families who are choosing home study as a pathway, families that are choosing completely at-home study, if that's an option in your school district, or thinking about home study on the days that families are home. So that's why we're calling it home study. So it's particular to families through a family lens. And Emily, if you want to scroll down, similar to our educators page, there are 3 ways of navigating. You can certainly continue to navigate through the grid. So we show and we highlight the times of the day that you could find things on broadcast. But what is even more, as you scroll down on our page, you start looking at things through thematics and bundles. So you can see that there are back to school resources right here at the top of the page for preschool to grade 5. That's for our 24/7 and main channels. And then there's also resources for grade 6 through 12, which is our plus or world grid channels. So we still have that same, the same 3 channels that we're using, but we're really looking at all of this from a family's point of view of how would this be accessible to them? How could they use self-service? How can they find things on their own, printables or themes that would be interesting? And then how do you help them find those? So say nature and science is the theme. I don't know, Emily, if you want to click into Mr. Chris for me, that would be great. Mr. Chris and Friends is, of course, a preschool focused TV program from right here in Vermont. And you can see when you click, you move right into PBS Learning Media, into a collection. And each resource has connections to activities, to short video clips, and all are connected to a standard. So the Vermont Early Learning Standards are connected. So you can see there's so many ways to share resources. And we go into this tool much deeper in the first webinar, but you can see that the usability is really easy to click. You can share, you can save as a favorite, or you can share to your Google Classroom, making it really easy. And again, more detail about this usability is certainly in our first webinar. Thanks, Emily. You can click back onto the distance learning page. And of course, for grade 6 through 12, similarly, by content area, you can click into any of the collections. It brings you to a PBS Learning Media link or to the program link. So Talk About Race moves us to the PBS page where you can stream things on demand. So again, you don't have to wait for it to come to broadcast, but you can certainly look at the grid, see when it's airing, and you can find clips or the whole show through streaming. So I'm loving the usability of how this is all presented, because it gives you a lot of options and a lot of ways to send things home to families, because we know that families aren't accessing things all in the same way. So this gives you flexibility, creativity, and time to plan ahead. I think that's the other big change. You can see we go by week. September 14th is here, and we will be continuing to post through the end of the month through the end of October, giving you plenty of time to continue to check out resources and plans. So more to come. Did I cover everything so far, Emily? Let's see, I'm looking down my notes.
I think so.
Great.
Yeah, so I think at this point, we wanted to just take a quick pause and see if anyone had any questions. Greg, if any questions have shown up in the chat box, or if anyone wants us to get into more detail onto any of that before we move on.
Feel free to unmute and just ask or raise your hand, and we'll try to see you and call on you. Great.
All right.
Quiet.
So, oh, is there a question?
Don't hear anything.
Okay, so I will continue, but please feel free, like we said, to pipe up if you have a question. So we're going to move on to now PBS Kids for Parents, and I will click into that. Oh, there's so much on this website. I was playing around on this the other day, and I was really excited to find so many different things. So you've got all the tabs across the top, and even though as an ELA educator, it bothers me to try and read from right to left, we agreed that we would start on the right-hand side because this is incredibly relevant. We want to make sure we get to it. So this Learn and Grow tab, you can see when you hover over it, it gives you choices of milestones by topic. You can also click right into the Learn and Grow tab, and I'll do that. And this is the milestones for the children. You can get tips and activities for these different milestones, right? Different categories. And as a literacy person, I like to choose that often. So I'll click into that for you. You can then say how old your child is. And I'm just clicking in 4 because that's a number I saw right there. Give that a second to load. It tells you about 4-year-olds, and then there are all topics, or just you could go more into a different topic. So literacy for 4-year-olds, things that you can look at related to literacy and 4-year-olds, ways to play with your 4-year-olds, lots of different activities. I feel like this is definitely a different path than I took the last time I went in here. So I'm going to see if I can find what I did last time, because that's what I was prepared to talk about. Yes. So now if you click into it from up here, it shows you a slightly different view, but it's the same idea. You could click into an age, or if you don't click into the age, then you can just see the categories of activities. So you'll see that the little icons tell you what kind of activity it is. This is a craft, and I'm just going to show you what that looks like. Let's see, it gives you a little description of an activity, the materials you'll need, the step-by-step directions for how to do this, and then some related activities that go along with it. Not all of these activities you'll see require screen time or internet access. So these are great ways to supplement that digital learning that your students might be doing. Let's see. You can also see that, sorry. Where did I want to go next? I'm just going to click back.
You're doing great, Emily. And I think the thing that everyone.
There it goes.
Oh
Sorry.
yeah.
It was doing a weird loading thing. So it also, when you're in the milestones part, the Learn and Grow tab, it recommends shows that go along with the theme that you picked out. So shows that go along with literacy. It also recommends articles that you can read that have to do with the same topic. And one of the things that Heather and I wanted to point out to you is they do bundles of books. So especially, for librarians or teachers that maybe want to do book sets in their classroom, if you want to collect some of these books that have the same theme, if that's something that you're working on. So that real thematic approach that we are striving for here. And then again, the age, which I showed you before. The next thing we were going to look at is the Thrive tab. So just getting you a little bit more into like what we've talked about in the last webinar, and I'll just reiterate, is that there are a lot of different ways to get to the same content. So, my supervisor likes to say, just click with abandon, just just go, click along. Nothing's gonna happen. You know, you're just gonna find more and be able to access more materials. So in the Thrive is the articles, right? So if you click into that, you've got stories about, you know, they've got some that they've highlighted here, and then you can look at different topics, or you can look at the latest articles. So they've got these latest articles that are showing up, or you could click into topics. So if you wanted to look at character, for example, there's the articles related to building character with children.
Exactly. And Emily, I think that what you're talking about is, you know, just click, and you're going to end up finding some of the similar things, because there's a lot of pathways to get there. And I think that's the thing that we really want you to walk away knowing, is that as you're in PBS Learning Media or on the distance learning page or here on PBS Parents, you're going to find things that sort of make you think about the kids you're working with or the families you're working with. And so everybody, we want to teach you how to self-serve, have self-service to these different on these different platforms, because that's what's going to serve your communities, and you know your communities the best. So feel free to just zip around, because some of our recommendations may not be the ones you're looking for, but we do constantly by the month and a month ahead create these opportunities for you to click in and find things that we think might be interesting for you, but you can do that on your own.
Yeah, so the next tab is the Play tab, and this is what I was referring to before when the different types of activities, that is the icon that indicates. So Heather, do you want to take this away?
I can, yeah. So again, so many ways to click around and to learn. I want to, on the far right of the screen, it says Play and Learn at Home. It is essentially a way of getting updates to your email. It's kind of a fun way to get information. They were doing that weekly during the beginning of the pandemic, but now you can see you can go by week, so they organize that. You can sign up for emails, which I think they're sending just once a month now, so a little less frequently, but you can go back through and you can see what they were sending out during that time. Again, you know, as you click into back to school, there's another sort of collection of activities. They bundle these in so many different ways that you can see that they've paired activities, they've paired printables, they've paired articles together to make it quite easy. Like, these are great resources, which you can also find on our distance learning page, which is a checklist of learn from home, going back to school. There are crafts. There are things about routines. So again, as you're clicking around, you'll find what is the best tool for you. And they are all written by people who know what they're talking about, from a national audience, which I just think is invaluable in these times when we're all looking for some new insight into different ways of doing things. So I think that's an important thing to remember. Emily, if you want to go back up to Thrive when you have, or Play, sorry, when you have a chance, I'll also sort of show the filter, which is printables. We know so many families right now do not have access to Wi-Fi. We know that that is a barrier. This is one way to move around that. If you do have some face-to-face time with students or in your library, there are some great printables. Some of these printables do come in multiple languages, not all, but they are really working at PBS to make that happen. So you can go through and sort of check those out, making that easy. They are connected to different TV shows, but also to different content, which you may be working on in your classroom or in your online environments or at home or in your libraries. So again, you can bundle them with those books and those resources. They're all very playful because we know that children learn through play. These resources, of course, we're focusing on are for younger children, but even for older children, similar resources exist in those collections on PBS Learning Media. Same thing, print, and send home, or print and use at home side by side. That's the best way to learn. So the other thing, if you can go back into that play tab, Emily, I'll just show one more thing. There are games and apps as well that are free and downloadable. And so again, another way to get playful learning into the hands of kids at home. And we know too that often a cell phone is the only technology in the home, and many of these are free and can work offline. So, you know, shop around, pre-teach. That's one of the biggest things right now for teachers, is to look through things ahead, make sure you understand how it works and how it can be downloaded, and then you can help those families find their way. And hopefully it will be a nice option to traditional passive screen time. We really want to be promoting interactive, responsive learning that can be side by side with, if there's a screen. The next thing that we were just going to look at were the shows, and sometimes the character leads, right? Because sometimes the kids know Daniel Tiger, the family knows Daniel Tiger, or Sesame Street, and they are trusted resources. We also know Cat in the Hat and Arthur and Clifford were books before they were shows. So do always be thinking about those sort of connections to other things. Pinkalicious is among Emily and my favorite. Also a book before it was a show. Emily, do you want to just walk through some of the Pinkalicious resources since you know them well?
Yeah. It gives you a little bit more information about the show. So it does talk about the integration of disciplines and standards that go along with this program. If you click into more about Pinkalicious, you can also see, not sure why it brought me to the bottom of the page when I clicked out, but that's okay. There's articles about Pinkalicious or that relate to themes in Pinkalicious. There's More to Pink Than Meets the Eye. I thought was pretty interesting. I started reading that the other day while I was playing around. Hands-on activities, crafts you can do, printables that do support the learning in this show, games and apps. So it's the same stuff that Heather was just talking to you about before, but it is bundled by, instead of by type, it's bundled with the program. So if you do have a character or a show that your kids love or that your families love, this is a great way to do that. There is also, let's see, you can watch now on PBS Kids. It brings you to a place to watch Pinkalicious. And it looks like there's also some sort of a clip available right here, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest things about these characters, and for those of you who work with young children and are like scratching your head and trying to figure out how do I do distance learning in a meaningful way with families that without promoting screen time, but supporting learning at home. I think one of the biggest things that characters like Daniel Tiger or Pinkalicious, what they really do support for children is a connection to a theme or an idea, and the learning is embedded, and it's playful. And there are even episodes now and short clips from like Wildcrafts and through Daniel Tiger that talk about COVID and about change and about worries. There's a new song that Daniel sings about that relates to COVID, which you can learn now, parents can learn. So really talking about feelings. We have heard from teachers of all ages that the social emotional components and worries and families just trying to navigate these new waters and do the best that they can. There are so many wonderful supports here built in through the articles. through the shows, through play, and certainly resources that you can send home, because we know that right now we're all looking for the things that are going to help us support these families and these children through these times. So we're excited about all of these things, and we're obviously continuing to learn, and new things are constantly being created and posted. So one of the benefits of following the distance learning work that's happening through the Vermont Agency of Education and Vermont PBS is that we are able to find what is new and what relates, and we update that ahead. So again, you get 2 months ahead, and we are constantly updating our materials. Emily will talk a little bit more about ways of accessing these things next, but certainly the websites that we're showing you are all the ways that you can find this information ongoing. So even if you're not ready to think about it now, check back and that distance learning page when you are ready, bookmark that page, bookmark PBS for Parents, and when you have time to sort of look through some resources that relate best. And again, Kyle next week is going to take us through some themes that work for all age groups, and that integrate content area, making projects a focus of some of the things that you're going to be working on for community members or students or families in the coming months. So we have some nice recommendations ahead. So Emily, do you want to talk more now about ways of finding out more?
Absolutely. So you could sign up for the AOE Weekly Field Memo, and there's a link there to facilitate that for you. You could also email one of the content specialists at the AOE and request to be added to our listservs. I've listed each of the specialists and our email addresses. And then, of course, visit the Vermont PBS Distance Learning site that we looked at the beginning of this presentation. So lots, you could always also email Heather as well. Lots of different ways to be in contact with us. And Heather?
Yeah, so this is what we have to look forward to next week. You won't see, well, Emily and I will be here, but we will be here to support Kyle, and Kyle will guide us through our next session. The best way to sign up for these sessions, certainly you should email me or Greg, and we can send you a direct invitation. And when you accept the invitation, we are able to let you in to these sessions in a way that's really concrete, instead of kind of getting lost in the Microsoft Teams links of, you know what I'm saying, all the Zoom and Microsoft Team links. So please email me, and I can make sure you have the correct invitation. Please accept your invitation as well. Best way to navigate. And we're hoping you can come and join us. And again, we will record that webinar as well. And you can find the recordings on our distance learning page. We have still about 20 minutes. We were really speedy, Emily, for questions or connections. So the last time there weren't a ton of questions, but there were some nice connections of ways that things that you heard or things that you saw that you may want to go back in and bookmark or look at deeper. And we would love to hear from you, because when we're sharing, it helps us to make connections with others. So certainly if you raise your hand or unmute, just say who you are, your context, what group you work with, because we have community members and librarians here on this call with us today. So we'd love to hear from you so we can hear some of your ideas.
Hi, I'm Mariah from Westby Nursery School. I'm a preschool teacher for 3 to 5-year-olds, and I've played around on the site just a little bit, but with our distance learners, we're making packets for them. So if I find a really good article for the parents, am I able to print the article too? Is there a printer-friendly version of that there? I see that the activities are, but that was my only question.
I believe so, for most or some. So here we are. Let's check it out.
Yeah.
So we'll go to Thrive. And then want to click into that. That's a cool new article with all the fires in California and big weather down south again, I think. Let's see here.
Okay, so
this one doesn't, it looks like it does not. But I think what you could probably do, Mariah, is just print, or you could also copy. Let's see, you could send a link to yourself. Let's see, how does that look?
I'll print.
That's pretty good. What do you
It's
think, Mariah? Will that work? There's no advertisements.
Yeah, no, that was great.
That's perfect.
Yeah,
You
so
sent the
that
link to
was,
Oh.
I have to move Heather's face off my screen. So you don't have to send a link to yourself. It's actually right at the top where it says share this page. And there's a tiny little printer icon.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. That was great. I'm sure there are other people that were wondering that same question. So that's great.
Other connections.
I have probably a teen question. This is Cheryl, and I'm a public librarian. Teens, a couple of them asked me about some shows they want to watch on PBS, but they're restricted by passport only.
Mm-hmm.
Any work around that, or is there a library membership we can get, or what do you recommend for that?
I love that question. We have been navigating those waters all year because before all of this, right, PBS sort of shifted and became like similar to Netflix or whatever it is. Like it's a television stream on demand and also membership service. Children's programming, pre-K, we'll say, K-5, most of those programs are never under passport, right? So they're free. Not all of them can be streamed, but when we are highlighting things in our programming in distance learning, the things we're highlighting will be accessible for free. So essentially what PBS is doing is bringing some of those things that are accessible to all to the surface, and that is the same for the Plus channel. In September and October, the things highlighted are going to be not under passport. So in the past, they have highlighted programs that are under passport, which is a restriction, because if you don't have a membership, you have no access to that. But they have changed the way they're doing that. So your question is there a library membership or is there a school membership? PBS is trying to figure that out because with the new call to educators using this content in different ways, we know you need access. So we can follow up when we know more. Right now, Passport is still on an individual membership basis. That's the structure of that. Which is like if you have a membership to PBS, then you have access to all programming. That may change, and we're still working with PBS National in order to figure out what that means. So half of the answer is there's good news. The things we highlight on distance learning can be found on demand with no passport restriction. For all PBS programming, there may be some other options coming down the road because PBS has heard that this is a problem because our reality has changed very quickly in the last 6 months. So I do believe there will be a solution soon. So we will continue to connect around that. The other thing I just want to make mention that I think I forgot to say is that we are creating an advisory group that will include librarians and teachers and community members and families. And if you are interested in sort of being in the loop and helping us to solve some of these problems, that will be the group. It will meet bi-monthly. So not a huge commitment, but it will help us to know that our web pages are easy to access, or if there's things like Passport we need to navigate, we can think of some solutions and recommendations. So we're hoping to recruit some more folks for that, and that will start at the end of September. So was that a good enough answer for now? A good start?
Yes, thanks. That's great.
Okay. Other connections. We still have about 20 minutes. Great. Does anyone want to see anything more for older kids? We really focused in on some of the PBS Parents content, and as you know, that's really a focus on pre-K through K-5. So if we can go back deeper into some of the other resources too, if this audience is interested in the older content. Does anyone need that?
Sure.
Cool. Let's do it. So Emily, do you want to get into PBS Learning Media a little bit?
Sure.
Awesome. Let's do it. All right. So for older students, some of the best ways to find printable resources for families is certainly by collection. So you can search, we covered this in the first webinar quite a bit, but we can sort of go over some of those things if you're new this time around. And so we can search, as Emily has her cursor up in the search box. And you can search if you know there's a program that you're really excited to watch. So do you want to do Polar Extremes, Emily? That's one of my favorite collections. And this is for grades 6 through 12. This program is often highlighted on our Plus channel too. And you can see the sweet little collection box there that tells you this is the whole collection. So when you click into that, you can see very quickly the sponsors and the people who put their energy into creating it. And you can also see how easy it is to link to Google Classroom. You can also see that there are videos, there are documents, there's a gallery, interactives, and lesson plans. And so essentially, when you're working with older students, you can assign these home for the students who do have access. But you can also share the printable resources, which you can find as you click into each of the different opportunities. So you can see, you can download all of them all at once. There are handouts, there are teacher tips, discussion questions. These are things that are easy to print. So if you know something's playing on broadcast that week, you can print off the discussion questions and say, try to catch the show. And again, these are the resources that are also accessible without Passport. So that really allows students, if they have access to Wi-Fi, to watch on their own, or if they don't have access to Wi-Fi, it's still accessible. They can find it on broadcast. We also know that these interactives and the short clips are another really great way of highlighting something maybe in class and then sending students home with the assignment. So you don't have to watch the whole series in order to get to the content. There are pre-created clips, especially in the interactives. This interactive particular is very cool because it shows the clip from the episode and goes through the key content, and then has the student almost like a web quest find what exactly what they would like to solve. So they have to help in this Polar lab. They have to help solve the mystery or the problem, which relates to climate change. So it's just really well done. And it comes with printables, it comes with other supports as well. So do click around. Again, pre-teaching is the best way to explore these resources because they are diverse. They do meet diverse needs of families and children. And again, some, not all, are in multiple languages. So if you're really looking for some of those things, you can even search in that way. Ooh, Poetry in America. Good call, Emily. Do you want to talk about this resource? Emily knows this one well.
This is one of my favorites. So this one has the clips for the different episodes of Poetry in America. And if you click into that, then you'll see the same screen you saw before. There's the clip, and then tells you about it a little bit, the support materials that go along with it. So there's like a pre-teaching, before you watch, or before you watch this clip, this is something that you can do with your students. And then we've got links to like the actual text of the poem, so that can be printed and shared with students beforehand. And then, of course, you've got your standards connections to, so you can see the connections to Vermont Common Core state standards, national standards, and that sort of thing. It also gives you links to other potential ones that you might want to watch. And now go back to the collection. It also gives you the link to the series website. So now, if you go and look at the Poetry in America series, this is where the kind of place where you might run into, needing a passport to watch a full program, but you will not need a passport to watch the clips that have been selected by Learning Media. So the actual specific connections can be accessed by using the clips that have been pulled by Learning Media.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's best to, when you're navigating, if you really want full access, try to use what is recommended during those months first. And then if you find other things, then, there's always a workaround. But there's also a very concrete way of finding that. So this is the best way to navigate to begin with.
Yeah. Let's see. We want to show, I'm just clicking into the Educators tab to show you, what am I looking for? The thematic bundles, the way it's bundled by, this is another way now that we're looking at Poetry in America. I think that links, yes. So the link on the website also, or on the distance learning website that I was just on, rather than taking you to the Learning Media collection, it takes you to a curated list of resources that are specific to episodes. So if you're going to be watching the Allen Ginsberg episode, this will take you to the Poetry in America's resources for that. This link will take you to the PBS Learning Media's website. And then another source that I found while I was digging around for Poetry in America would be the Allen Ginsberg Project. So we've got those series website, Learning Media collection. This is one of, they would call these the evergreen documents. And we're in the process of putting those together, collecting and curating resources. Our content specialists at the AOE are doing that to try and bundle resources and make them more readily available to folks.
Yeah, I think the thing to just remember is click around, don't be afraid, and also that there are so many resources that are being bundled, and we're really hopeful that teachers and librarians and community members really take advantage of these resources, because we're all working together closely during the week to make this so user-friendly. And again, our goal is to help you self-serve or find your way through on your own to make sure that it's connecting to the things that are most meaningful to you in this time of dynamic learning and delivery. We appreciate all of you and the way that you continue to pivot in order to meet the needs of your students. And I think that some of these resources that are bundled will be helpful for you, free, accessible in many ways, but also making your job easier. That's what we're trying to do, because your job, because we appreciate you. So it's 10:49. Any other questions, final questions before we leave today? Great. But please email if you have questions. I plan to send a follow-up, which will include this PowerPoint today, a link to where these will be recorded and where you can find them, a little more information about next week's webinar, and a survey. So we would love to get your feedback to make sure that we've done a great job, and that will help inform us for next week. So if there's something specific that you want to see more of or less of, please give us that feedback so that we can make sure that that happens next week. It will be our last webinar of this series. And again, if you want to participate in any of the advisory groups, again, by monthly commitment, 1 hour, just as a way of participating in this conversation about what resources are needed and what makes this easier and what would make this more accessible to you, to teachers, to families, to community members. We want to hear from you. So we're hoping, please reach out. And that's just also my email. So best way to get in touch with the webinar links is my email. Best way to get involved in the advisory group is my email. So please reach out and look for that. And if you can take a second to do the survey, that would be fantastic too. Anything, Emily, to add, or anybody else?
Just, we really appreciate what you're doing for Vermont students, and we want to help as much as we possibly can. So thank you for joining us today.
Great. Yep. And we'll see you next week with Kyle. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Yeah. Take care.